Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Focus on Gaming podcast, episode number 43. I'm Martin. I've got Duncan and Tom, all three of us.
Hello.
Than us. How have you all been?
Been gaming a lot. Yes, I've been gaming a lot. I think I've been keeping people up to date with something I've been doing, but we'll talk about that later. But what have you been playing, Tom?
Funny enough, something we're going to talk about later.
Oh, okay then. Martin, what have you been playing?
Snake. I've been playing Snake. So I've gone back in time. I've got a phone with about 20-year-old tech on it, a Nokia 8210. Because my last phone broke and I couldn't really afford to get a new contract phone, so I just bought the cheapest phone I could from Argos. It's got Snake on it, so it's brought back some nostalgia. And Doodle Jump is also on it. I don't know if any of you Doodle Jump, but that is really addictive. So I'm probably playing it on that phone as much as I was on my previous phone, but my previous phone I was on it for like Facebook and other smart stuff, but now I'm on it just for Doodle Jump and a really terrible camera. But other than that, I've also still been on my Switch, been playing Zelda and Rocket League. I've got Rocket League on there now, which I probably shouldn't have done. But
had any more 3 a.m. finishes?
Not quite 3 a.m. No, I have had some late finishes.
2:58.
2:58, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going down that road again. So, but no, actually, it's probably a testament of how good Zelda is. Is that I'm still playing that more than Rocket League. So, because most games, Rocket League I end up just shelving all the other games and just playing Rocket League, whereas I'm still persevering with Zelda. So
you got the Nintendo World Championship coming out on Switch soon, haven't you? For the NES edition. So
it's like challenges and tournaments kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that anti-arcade kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So you play through. You got Zelda. Well, you got Mario, the first one, and various Excite Bike stuff like that, and you just have to complete the levels within a certain amount of time or achieve a certain target.
I'd say Mario Kart. That was SNES, wasn't it? Not NES.
Yeah, I think they're going to do a SNES edition next year.
You have to enter that, Tom, if they do a SNES one.
Yeah. Probably be on Rainbow Road, and I'll just fail miserably.
Also, you've been playing the 2 mobile games. I mean, those are pretty much like a timeline of the most popular mobile games.
Well, actually, Snake. It's got a few games. It's got Snake, Doodle Jump. It's also got Crossy Road, which was also really popular, wasn't it, when that came out? So,
Doodle Jump was probably one of the biggest first smartphone, one of the biggest like early smartphone games, wasn't it, with the touch screen? Because all you had to do was tap, 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 and tilt. Was it tilt or was it touch? I can't remember.
Do you know there's an arcade game of that as well?
Yeah, there's one local to us in Essex.
Yeah. Well, my phone isn't touch screen or it doesn't have the technology to tilt, so I'm doing it all by buttons. But it's it's addictive. So
So why not?
If anyone wants a really cheap phone, not get 8210. They do loads.
Make an observation, Martin. Every time you are on the podcast, the picture behind you changes. It's a different frame, a different picture every time. Did your missus plan this out?
It is the same picture, I promise. I probably just where I'm sat.
I try and cover it up with the icon, so it's some privacy.
I'm gonna have to look back now because maybe we got we're haunted. My partner's doing it without me knowing.
Yeah, it's like the outfit of the day.
Well, there's just gonna be some like really, really rude pictures there. There isn't really rude pictures, don't worry. I'm sure they're all lovely pictures of your family, but no, it's all good. You're all good. No good for anybody that's on audio, but So right. Well, I'll tell you what, going on to non-handheld things I've been playing. Not Big Kitty, Little Kitty, Big City has come out on Game Pass, which I don't know if you've seen it, is sort of like cross between Stray and Untitled Goose Game. It's definitely great for kids because my 6-year-old's been playing it today. And yeah, you basically you're just being arsehole cat, basically. Just jumping on walls and knocking things off. If there's literally you press the left or right trigger to bat things to the left or right, so you just stand on a shelf and boink, knock whatever you want off, and you trip people up and everything. So yeah, it's basically you're just going to be horrible to people, and it's a cat who's fallen off a skyscraper, like bang, 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 and wants to find their way home. So I haven't got very far into it yet. Bit fiddly controls, but no, it's not bad. It's not bad.
When you first said it, I for some reason I initially thought Hello Kitty. I was thinking like another Paw Patrol, Peppa Pig type of game.
Oh god,
we're getting a lot of cat games lately, aren't we? What was the other one we had to
Stray?
Walk Stray. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's really good, really good.
Yeah.
This is very cartoony.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's got humour to it because you talk to other animals, and the cat that you play is sometimes a bit naive, sometimes the other animals are a bit naive, kind of thing. But it makes it quite funny. But it's simple. It's a bit puzzly. It's a bit sort of find this, find that kind of thing. It's good. It's available on Game Pass. So if you got Game Pass, if not, is it worth a buy? Yeah, probably not. It's not a £60 game, but it's it's a £30-40 game. Yeah, for that.
Cool.
I wouldn't mind. What else? There's been so many things come on since we last played. Tomb Raider's come back to Game Pass, but there's also Kona 2, but I haven't played that yet. That looks a bit serious. The first one was a bit serious and dark. But no, that's all I've been playing recently, other than things we're going to chat about in a bit. So, Tom,
yes,
what have you been playing? This you can tell us this time.
Well, I decided to pull out my my PSP collection, and
phew, thank God.
And I was playing virtual tennis, and God, so many. I was playing MotorStorm, and Mercury.
Oh, Mercury! That was
that
was just called Mercury, wasn't it?
Mercury, yeah, that was fantastic. So,
very good puzzle game.
Yeah, so essentially you move a ball of mercury around different
a puddle.
Yeah, puzzles.
There was another game, wasn't there, called Puddle? I think that was very similar.
Very similar, yeah. But so I just went through. Oh, and I played a game called Infection, which essentially you go around. It used to be an online game, but you still got minimal functionality. So you play. It's a zombie game. You start off as a survivor. You then get eaten, and you can watch your virus go around the map and take over. And on the online version, when it worked online, I don't think it does still. You could actually watch it all around the world on the world map and see how far your virus had travelled. It was really good. And then you act out as a zombie, and then you chase players who are non-zombies. It's very cartoony, but very good. So a very unique game. So yeah,
now, I owned a PSP, and at the time, because I was just looking up at all the details of it. The PSP came out in 2004, and that was the same year as the Nintendo DS. So we were sort of had a difference of opinion before you came on, Martin. As I was saying, it got destroyed by the DS, which it did commercially. But you said you preferred the PSP. Is that because the games or?
The DS was targeted at kids and mums, and I think that until you got to the 3DS XL, then the DS was essentially a very, very much kids-orientated machine. Or, like I said, my mum, who was 60 at the time, would play it. But the PSP was very much targeted at teenagers and people in their 20s, early 30s. It had PS2 stroke.
It was
PS3
it was
graphics.
PS2-ish graphics, wasn't it?
It was PS2 and a half, I'd say, and it was bloody good. And you could obviously get UMD movies as well, which, to be honest with you, I never really bothered with.
They sucked.
They did suck completely. But as a machine, it was fantastic. And it had so many variations. You had the PSP original, then you had the PSP 2000, the 3000, I've got the PSP Go.
Oh, so I was going to say about that one. That was awful.
Do you know what it is? Except for if you hack it and put retro games on it, then it becomes fantastic.
Martin, have you had a Sony handheld before?
I had the PSP.
You had the
PSP. So I had the Vita, but I did have the PSP. Like Tom, at the time, I saw DS as more of a, because I was, it was 2004. I'd have been 14/15 in that when it came out. So I saw the DS as like a bit of
Makes me feel old.
I was 26.
Yeah.
Rather than someone of my age. So I did see it as a bit more of a cooler console. Whereas the DS was, like Nintendogs and brain training. Then the PSP had, obviously had like the Grand Theft Auto games on there. Just a lot of the games which were on the PSP. And also, I did like the movie. I know you said you didn't like the movies, but I just like the novelty of being able to watch a movie
on the go. Yeah,
on a go. Yeah, so I'd be like in bed watching like some movie or whatever. No. I don't know if you could get. Could you get?
Probably in Japan. In Japan, they probably could. Yeah.
Let's have a look.
You could probably still get UMD porn.
They didn't sell it in a game station if they did. So all the stuff I had at the time was from game station. So
you could
mainstream.
Wow, you could get porn on UMD. So if you were that sad,
I have to find my old PSP now.
That's it.
You say about obviously it had GTA on it, which you had Chinatown Wars, did you, and Liberty City Stories, did you, on that device?
Yeah.
Now they were good, and you had God of War games.
You had like Need for Speed on it.
Yeah, you had loads. JRPGs were 10 a penny. But what were they all necessarily ones that you want as a handheld? Did it work as a handheld, or did you? I look back at some of the games now. I've been playing the Vita this week, and a lot of the games I'm just thinking I'd rather play that on a big screen. Yeah,
you could link it up to the big screen, though, couldn't you?
Could you?
I know you could with the Vita. And I think the original PSP, there was a way to.
There was PS TV, wasn't there? That was the Vita, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the Vita TV.
Is it on here? I've just got this on actually.
Let's
have a little look.
Play a game and you're enjoying it, and you think, "Oh, I'd also enjoy it if I was playing it on a big screen." But then the point of a handheld is it's just the convenience of having a handheld, isn't it? So you might, like I had, when I was saying about like grown-up games, but I had a Loco Roco. It was
that was so
game
good.
I used to play.
Oh, Loco Roco. Yeah, that was another tilted one, wasn't it? That you just used the shoulder buttons.
Yeah, so you were like a ball, weren't you? You just roll around, but you would have to like.
You could also link it to the PS3 and remote play on the PS3. So that was way before the PlayStation Plus and.
Yeah, so apparently you could just connect the bottom of the PSP to a TV, the connection at the bottom.
I did not know that, and I had a PSP. So
component cable, but it was the 2000 and 3000 models, I think.
And it was it the first handheld that had like an analog stick?
Yes, the original did. Yeah,
because
was it whether it's the first one? I don't know. Because
none of the Nintendos had an analog stick, did they?
The original PSP did on one side, whereas the Vita has it on both sides.
But I don't know. There was another company that released a handheld that had an analog stick.
Just looking at see if there was.
The Game Gear that definitely didn't have an analog stick.
So obviously, you had a few handhelds before it, but most of them were D-pads. So it was definitely the first mainstream handheld with an analog stick.
Yeah,
but I don't like the ones that are on the Vita and the PSP, especially that have the very little. They're not raised from the console. Obviously, they've got to be like that because they're meant to be slim. But on the Vita, trying to do a first-person shooter is almost.
We tried Killzone.
Can't do it
on the Vita.
Have I tried
Killzone on the Vita?
I do have it at the moment. I haven't. I played about 5 minutes of it though. So
once you get into it, it's really good.
It seems good. It seems like a sort of what does it remind me of? There was one of the Call of Duty, the Black Ops 3. It reminds me of. Yeah. That kind of futuristic.
I mean, the Vita was essentially PS4, early PS4 graphics. I think we could say very early on.
Why do you think the PSP was that failed though? Do you think it was the hacking, like the ability, the fact that it was jailbroken pretty quickly-ish?
I don't consider it a failure, to be honest. I mean, I was just looking now. I mean,
it sold 80 million.
80 million. I don't think that's a failure, really. Yeah, I don't think it's a failure. I think the online system with it was naff. I think there was so many games available, but it didn't have a lot of support from all the third-party vendors. I mean, that was disappointing. But initially, it had everything from Street Fighter to Midway, Mortal Kombat collections. It had, I think, it even had Crash Bandicoot via a download.
I think it had it had all the PS1 versions, but wasn't that the online store, wasn't that for the later models?
I can't check, but I'm not sure. But I know that I've got over 200 games for it, and they're just fantastic games. And
I mean, you two are reminding me of some of the really good ones, especially the puzzly, like the tilting kind of ones, because it only had the two shoulder. It only had left and right, didn't it?
That's it. Yeah,
it didn't have two. Which
Rocky was fantastic. Rocky on the original PSP was fantastic, and the career mode was also good.
I did like I did like Rocky, but I never played it on PSP. I just had it on the GameCube.
Adrian!
But no, I think in terms of it being, if you compare it to the DS, but I think just Nintendo, if you compare anything to Nintendo handhelds, they've just got almost monopoly of that. I think they did all right. Their first.
I think the hardware sold all right, but I think that the developers started to step away from it because of the rampant piracy. And I think it was the later models, wasn't it, that were easier or did something. I can't remember what the story was, but so it was the same as a lot of these things. If third-party developers don't develop for you, you're not going to have that many great games. And I think once the PS3 was in its later years kind of thing, it people sort of forgot about the PSP, especially because obviously then you had the PlayStation Vita, which I do believe came out in December 2011, but didn't come out until 2012 in Europe and America. So you didn't have one? Did you have one when it first came out, or was it originally, Tom?
I didn't. No, I got one many years later. So
I booted mine up because the reason why we're talking about this, I suggested this subject was because I found my Vita this week. When my wife was clearing out this room, which is now actually tidy, she found a box of my stuff, and there was my Vita. So I charged it up, and it worked absolutely fine. Problem is that my account that had about 15 games bought on it is on my old email address, which I can't access anymore. So I lost all those games. But I do still have my box games. I had Little Big Planet, and whatnot. But I did notice before I had to reset it because it would let me play a couple of the games for some reason, even though it technically wasn't logged in. And some of the save games were from 2013.
Quality.
So with my 16 gigabyte bespoke card, oh god, they were horrible. I remember that being really, really expensive. Just a 16 gigabyte. It was horrific. You couldn't save anything.
Is yours the one that allows you to put a SIM card in it as well?
No, I had a Wi-Fi only one. Because it came out 2011, and I think there was different versions. Hang on, I'm just looking at the different versions. Revised model came out in 2013, which was a slim.
Yeah.
But I did not have the slim because the slim I think had a internal. Yeah, it came with 1 gigabyte of internal storage memory.
Yeah.
It
had a terrible screen on it as well.
Apparently, you could not use the internal memory and the memory card concurrently.
I don't know what memory card I've got in mine. Let's have a look.
Apparently, you once you installed a memory card, it would convert all the save games and everything over to the memory card. But it had a micro USB Type B port, which
I've just opened by accident.
But yeah, so it's got an OLED screen, and
I was going to say it had an OLED screen, wasn't it?
It's touch screen. It's got the touch back. It's got dual analog sticks. So for me, in every way, in shape and form, it was vastly superior. It wasn't just the power; it was vastly superior in every way to the PSP for me.
But also, it compared to when we were talking about sales, the 3DS was also a lot popular.
And the 3DS had been out for a year already when it came out.
So again, would you say it was a success, or would you? You say
apparently there was. Let's have a look, see if I can find the general sales of this.
17 million. Apparently.
Oh, blimey! So massively flopped.
Yeah.
But this definitely, I think the first, all the big games were, as soon as it was found that it could be hacked, I think all the first third-party developers just abandoned it.
I have an 8 gig memory card in mine. So
I've got double space for yours. So even now, I mean, the way to hack it now is, what you to just play homebrew and whatnot, is literally you go to a web page and click a button, and that is it. And as soon as something is that easy, if you're Activision Blizzard or Microsoft or whoever developing for it, you're just going to go, no one's going to buy our game if they can copy it. We're not going to spend $1 million on, and everyone abandoned it. But yeah, I loved it.
It's become a very handy emulation device, really, hasn't it?
Yes, that's what a lot of people do with it. I personally haven't, because I can emulate on the Steam Deck, and it's a lot less faff.
Yeah, you can play PS4 on this, by the way. I've tried.
Yeah, that would help if I had a PS4.
Yeah, well, but yeah, it does work really well on that. So, but I still enjoy it. I still play it. My kids play it. So, Ollie plays it.
Got some great go. I mean, I've been playing Tearaway on it, which is the sort of the equivalent of Astro Boy on the PS5.
Yeah,
it uses the device and shows off the device. Where literally there's some places where, because the world's made out of paper, you can touch the back and it puts a finger on the screen as if you're putting your finger through the screen. And so it's very clever, and it uses the device to its full potential. It's quite easy though. It's an easy platform puzzler. But its online features are no longer valid. But there have been a couple of games that I've played which still have active multiplayer, and I tried the online servers, and people are still playing, and Well, not in 2024, so that's 13 years after the console came out, and people are still playing it online.
I think
So
I got
I am
cash
just.
converters.
I was just reading about why it wasn't so, or why people believe it wasn't so. Apparently, it had a high price point compared to the 3DS, which obviously never helps. It was expensive for memory cards and game storage, and also it came out when there was an increase in popularity of smartphones and tablets, which again, I guess,
That'll do it.
Yeah,
probably not a very good timing for a handheld to come out when smartphones and tablets were probably
yeah. I mean,
I've
I've
sort of trying getting popular in as well as for gaming as well for just being as phones, isn't it? So
I remember the 16 gigabyte card that I got. I'm pretty sure it was something like £30 or £40, which, although nowadays, 16 gigabyte, you'd probably get an SD card for 16 gigabyte for, £2 or £3. 30 or £40 10 years ago, well, probably 11 years ago. That was a lot of money. So it was not cheap. I don't know whether there wasn't anything particular. I wanted shiny new thing, and it was a shiny new thing that was very powerful, like the PSP, where you could play console quality games at home, but in your hand. But it never quite reached its full potentials in having a massive suite of things. There was a lot of ports. You could get the God of War collection, the Need for Speed game that you were playing recently, Tom. Was that Most Wanted?
That was, yes, I think it was.
Most Wanted. And then things like Killzone, which came out, it was okay. It was very good. The fact that you were playing this really pretty looking first person shooter, and it was okay, but it wasn't as good as your Call of Duties. It wasn't as good as your Battlefields, but it was a very good game. So there wasn't that standout reason to get it.
Wipeout was fantastic on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, Wipeout was fantastic on everything, really, wasn't it? Was it Wipeout Pure? Was it Wipeout Collection?
It was.
Wipeout HD Collection or something?
It was Wipeout 2048. But I also downloaded the PS1 version as well. So
they were such good games. But
would you sorry to
go on.
You want to keep it on PS Vita so we can, but I was just going to ask you, would you class the PlayStation Portal, which is the newest one, as a portable PlayStation device, or would you just say it's an extension?
Yeah, I mean, I've chatted to loads of people who've got one, and if you have a need for it, there's so many dads that are like, "Oh my god, I get to play on my PlayStation whenever I want." If the wife wants to watch some reality TV, or the kids want to play on the Switch on the TV, or or I'm just sitting in bed and the wife's snoring away, they can sit and play on their PlayStation, and it works well. The screen is very good, apparently. The controller is basically a PlayStation 5 controller split in two. So it does what it's meant to very well. I just think, for me, a £150 price point would have been good. £200, I just think you could get an LCD refurbished Steam Deck for not much more. And you could do the same thing. Plus, you can play cloud Xbox. You can play PC games. You can emulate.
And you can play your PlayStation.
Yeah. And
my friend has got one because he like works away quite a bit. So he's got one. So when he's working away, he can still play his PS5. And I did say to him, I was like, you better ensure that either your PS5 is on or it's on sleep mode, because you'll get there and you won't be. And he said it's always on sleep mode, so you should be able to play it whenever, as long as he's got a Wi-Fi connection, isn't it? I think you have to have.
I think the downside is you can't play PlayStation Plus games.
Were they meant to be patching that in?
Apparently so, but they haven't yet. So
yeah, because there was also, they did advertise the fact that you didn't have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, because apparently there was some people on the group that I'm on. There's so many people who'd be like, "Hang on, I can take this anywhere and play it, and play my PlayStation 5." And people are like, "Yeah, I go to work, I go on holiday or whatever." And yeah, so, but as he said, I think there are restrictions. You can't, you can't play the PlayStation Plus.
The PlayStation 5.
You can't stream games, can you? But you can stream from your PS5.
Yeah, maybe it's because the technical thing from your connection to their servers and back again might be difficult. But don't you feel like the PlayStation 5 though? If you add everything together, you got the machine for what, 550 now, 500. You've got the VR, which is another 500. Then you've got this other machine, which is what, 250. It's a lot of expense
I just think, the Portal is trying to create what they're probably going to do in the future, because I think we all agree that going forward, consoles are going to be a mixture of handheld and home consoles, which PlayStation are doing, but they're charging you twice for it, because you've got to buy the home console, and also if you want to have the handheld, you've got to pay an extra £200 for it. Whereas just a question, do you think going forward, and this isn't just about PlayStation, Sony, but do you think we'll have just handheld consoles and just a home console? Or do you think now going forward it'll always just be a hybrid of the two?
I mean, the fact is that graphically there are not massive steps anymore. You've got the rumours of the power of the PS5 Pro that's coming out. That's like, oh, it can do ray tracing, and it's got this many teraflops, and it's got this gigahertz. All that's going to mean is that God of War is going to have nice shiny reflections on his head. No one cares. Do something with Astro Boy did something with the controller. You've got innovative games. You've got games that people really get stuck into, like Hades, that don't need that power. But like you said, a handheld, that's perfect. Something like Hades that doesn't require, I think you can get Hades or similar thing like Dead Cells or Metroidvanias on phones. So I think the fact that there's rumours that Microsoft have got a handheld, PlayStation are, doing a PS5 Pro. Are they just going to hold off doing a PS6? Don't know. But I think that the Portal would be a good way of sort of bridging that gap.
No, I feel there probably won't be another just handheld only console, because I think if people just want to play games handheld, they'll probably use their mobile phones now.
I think the Switch Lite is a bit of a...
the Switch Lite is
the Switch Lite is... Yeah, but there's so many people I've seen online that are just like, no, don't bother with that, because there's no point in it. It's cheaper, yes, but you can't connect it to this. You can't, if you get stick drift, you can't buy a new controller for it. So don't bother. Now, it is great that if you've got a family of Switch users, you could just go, here are kids, have the Switch Lite while you play on the TV. But no, I think if Sony come out with a handheld, it will be a dockable one.
So it brings it up to 4K, maybe.
Well, that's the next thing. The technology that's in the Steam Deck is 2 generations of chip behind, or almost, because the ROG Ally and the Legion Go have the next generation ahead of the Steam Deck, and then the next generation, I think, is sort of available, but not really. It's what do they call it? The RDNA or something 4, whereas the Steam Deck has Zen 2 technology. Yeah, or the chips.
Apparently, we're getting a Rogue Ally 2 by the end of the year.
Well, they've announced that there is. It's called the ROG Ally X, and it's a revision. It's going to be a revision. It's not going to be an ROG Ally 2, but they have announced that the SD card is moved. They're not acknowledging that there was an issue with the SD cards and people's SD cards melting, but they have said it's moved away from the fans and the heat source. But yeah, it'll be things like they haven't announced the specs. They've just said it's going to be announced or details of it are going to be announced in June. And yeah, so that'll be probably better screen, better battery life. Apparently, that's the big thing that they've said is happening. Is battery life is doubling. Now that's doubling is probably going to make it a bit of a brick.
But I suppose when they must have been developing this for 2 to 3 years. So the tech in it's dated. So maybe the jump is there battery wise. Who knows? Depends what you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, the Steam Deck OLED is the battery life of that was increased by making it an OLED, increasing the battery. But yeah, there's various little technological things that just meant that the battery lasted a lot longer, something like 35% longer, something like that. And if they could get a fantastic double life, I mean, that means you could, go on a whole 5-hour flight and play Cyberpunk the whole way. Yeah. Fantastic. We'll have to wait and see. But
I think it's the way to go. I really do. But do you know what interests me is having a device you can dock, a bit like the Switch, but also if they could include some glasses or something, so when you want to play remotely but not on the screen, and you have it something you can connect to it, like
you're trying to bring back Google Glass, are you?
No. But like big screen, they did a micro VR headset. Did you ever see that? It was more or less the same size as a pair of shades, and
there are quite a few like screen shades that you can get now. I mean, they start quite cheaply. Well, I say cheaply; they're like £200 kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, you can go up to sort of £600-700, but they are basically screens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean,
can there ever get to a point where mobile phones just get so good that people just use their mobile phones for everything, including gaming, and don't have a console because they just dock their game mobile up to the screen if they want to play?
I don't actually. I think we're going to see in the next 10 years, maybe less, the mobile phones become obsolete, and we're doing everything in wearables. I honestly don't see.
If they make an easy to use wearable, I could see them. They could see them taking over, but I mean, they make everything so clunky and.
Yeah,
and people don't want that. People want ease, and a little black, rectangle that you slip in your pocket is nice and easy. So unless they make something just as easy, where it's like your phone can have a screen come out of it. Oh, no, your watch can have a screen come out of it, or I don't know, whatever happens. But yeah, it needs to be easy. I mean. I sit there sometimes in bed and wife's snoring away, and I've got the Steam Deck right next to me. I've got my phone, and just the phone is quicker and easier to play with, and that's all I want there. And then I just want something to occupy me for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and ease. A lot of people want ease of use.
Well, Apple bring a lot of first-party console games to their devices. There was one they announced recently, didn't they? Which is quite a high standard game. I'm trying to remember what it was they announced, but
Resident Evil. They brought Resident Evil 7, wasn't it, or 8? Anyway, they bought one of the last two Resident Evils to iPhone 15.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was a bit dodgy as to how good it looked. It was something ridiculously low resolution, and the textures and whatnot. Apparently, it looked good for being on a phone, but it didn't look good, if that makes sense.
Wouldn't work
But
on Apple TV then.
people will forgive that though, won't they? To play on their phone. If you go, do you know what? I want to play some Resident Evil. I'm just gonna grab my phone and start playing.
I think it's about time Nintendo releases a phone, don't they? A mobile phone by Nintendo, and then you could play a Nintendo game and a mobile.
What would they have that would be
Android?
their little thing? What would be their thing that makes it crazy Nintendo?
Their own operating system, so not Android or iOS. They have their own crazy.
I can't ever see him doing it, but yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, if they just put like the Switch or whatever, they just stuck so you put a SIM card in it.
The thing is, their mobile offerings have not been that great though. I mean, they've got Mario Run, haven't they? And the Mario Kart Tour, which wasn't really much of a Mario Kart game.
No.
There have been other ones. I mean, Pokemon Go was obviously an absolute thing, but that's Nintendo. That's Pokemon company, so I'm not counting them.
Did any of you have the N-Gage? That was like a mobile phone. But also
the Nokia N-Gage.
I didn't have it. No.
Yeah, apparently you had to take it apart to change the games, didn't you? You had to take the battery out, the back off, and then take the battery out, swap the game cartridge over, and then put it back together. And then you had the 1 to 9 keypad that had buttons and stuff on it, and apparently the controls were awful. But it had, for the time, it had Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, yeah. Sounds convenient though.
It wasn't very convenient. It wasn't very good. It got abandoned as soon as it was released. The reviews of it were not kind when it came out. Before it came out, everyone was really excited for it because Nokia were the big company, the mobile company, and if they'd got it right, like if they'd gone with Nintendo,
change the future, didn't it?
Yeah,
we could all just be now playing mobile phones as consoles rather than this still having consoles and mobile phones as two separate.
And Nokia wouldn't have been sold about 20 times because the Nokia nowadays is not Nokia that. Well, I think it was. It was sold to one company, then sold to another company, then somebody sold the name, then they bought the name, and then they sold the name, and all this kind of thing. So
sounds like Atari.
Yeah. So really weird.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe Tom. I think.
I need to leave.
So we'll say goodbye to Tom right now, but I don't think we'll just natter for a bit longer, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I will see you all next week.
Yeah, see you for episode 44, Tom.
Okay. See you later.
Bye. And now I've got to move our icon because it's covering up your face. I wonder if that's on the recording, me moving it around. Hey, there we go. Anyway, so what are we talking about? Yes. Handhelds.
Well,
handhelds.
yeah, we started with Sony, and then we've gone off on a little bit of a tangent and just started talking
about what the future of handhelds are.
Handheld, would it just be mobile phones?
Well, I'll tell you what, now that he's gone, I'll tell you what, we'll quit the handheld sort of, because Microsoft have rumoured to have a handheld thing. But have you heard this week, we've got to talk about it really, that Microsoft have closed down 4 studios, but the main 2 are the Tango one, the Tango Gearworks, who made Hi-Fi Rush, and probably the biggest one is Arcane Austin, who made Prey and Redfall. As in Prey, the 2017 Prey, not the 2011 Prey or whatever that was. Have you played any of those games, Prey?
I don't know. I don't think I have. I might have done, but I can't think. I haven't played Redfall.
Well, funnily enough, I've actually just finished Prey on the Steam Deck. It's very much it's a story-based, first-person sneaking puzzle kind of game where you have to go from one place to another, and there's multiple ways you can do areas or you can solve the game. You can actually, there's halfway through the game, if you do certain things, you can finish the game straight off. But it's very good. It's a sci-fi story-based shooter. Yeah, very good, and it was very well received. Redfall was not obviously well received, and Microsoft had cancelled all the DLC that was planned for Redfall, and yeah, so it sort of come out of left field a bit, and everyone was very surprised that it happened because Hi-Fi Rush was relatively well, it was very well received, and
not just on Xbox, also on PlayStation, isn't it?
It just come out. It's Tango Gameworks, that's the one. Now I think is it Shinji Mikami who made things like Evil Within, the Evil Within 2 and Ghostwire Tokyo. They did those games as well. So no one really saw it coming. But at the same time, I don't think any of them are particularly sold. They haven't broken records for the sales. They've just been very well received.
Maybe Microsoft are just streamlining their...
Yeah, I think that they've had a lot of people backing them up that are in the industry, but they've also said what they need to start doing is clarifying what they're doing. It's almost like there is maybe a handheld coming. There is, we're leaving the hardware industry. There is an Xbox Pro or Game Pass coming to Nintendo Switch or something like that. I don't know. Whether it's something big, we don't know. But that's the problem is they've just shut these 2 or 4 studios and then just haven't told anybody why, and nobody knows quite why.
Yeah, I think out of all the companies like Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, the most rumors are always to do with Microsoft, isn't it, at the moment? Where, it's just people trying to second guess what they're going to do next because you had all the stuff with the Activision.
These companies do all come under the Activision or Bethesda buyout, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, they're all ones that they bought in the last 4 years. I mean, the one of the mobile ones was the one who did Mighty Doom, which was it wasn't that good. It was just a bog standard mobile game. It probably made very little money for the input that they had, like the monetary input. So whether or not that wasn't their expectations. Unfortunately, with a company like Microsoft as well, is that they have to pay, they have to show growth to shareholders and boards and all this kind of thing, and that means that things have to sell. They have to sell more each year. And if they're like, yes, this is really well received, but it's just sold exactly the same as something last year, that isn't good enough. They've got it. Yeah. So it's...
And also, Microsoft have been in the news as well for Microsoft to open web-based mobile game store this summer. Will only host its own games to begin with. That's what it says. But so
no,
not really. I haven't really looked too much into it, but Microsoft is set to open its web-based Xbox mobile game store in the coming couple of months. This news comes from Xbox President Sarah Bond, who's speaking at yesterday's Bloomberg Technology Summit. In July, we are going to be launching our mobile experience. We're going to start actually by bringing our first party portfolio. This will include games such as Candy Crush, which Microsoft now owns. And
part of the King purchase.
And then there's a load of other stuff. I won't read the whole article, but it looks like they're going to be extending capability to partners. Take advantage of
they could do
cross-platform, game-centric mobile experience. So
if it can be cross-platform, as in I own. Not only do I have Game Pass, I own Minecraft. I own some other games that are possibly good for mobile porting. I would hope that means that I will be able to go, right, I own Minecraft. Oh, look, I can play it on my phone. Now, technically, I could already do that because I already own Minecraft on Android on the Play Store. Now, we're talking about this. I wonder if they're going to withdraw Minecraft from the Play Store and only have it on theirs. But then are they going to have an app that has the web? It says web-based store, but then they could have a web-based app, maybe? I don't know. The thing is, you have a phone, even with whatever phone you end up with. Are you going to get a different store just because it has Minecraft and Candy Crush?
No.
And
it would go against what Microsoft, because they seem to be trying to open up the gaming market to multiple platforms, allowing games to go over to PlayStation. So
if they could get Game Pass to include mobile games, that would be good. Or at the moment with Game Pass you get perks. So that's Mighty Doom was one of them that over the last few months they've tried to give away Mighty Doom perks to try and get people to play it. So maybe the part of the Game Pass Ultimate will also, like Netflix, are getting into mobile games. If they come that you like what's it called, Android Pass game. Android have a Game Pass, and iOS. What is it? iOS has the Apple Play or something. Play Arcade pass, and you can pay a certain amount per month, and you don't get in-app purchases, and you don't get adverts. So if they include that as part of Game Pass Ultimate, I'd be well up for that. But if they go, here's our store, buy Minecraft again, pay for stuff on Candy Crush, I don't think many people will be interested. It'll just go the way of Windows Mobile, I think.
Yeah, I did have a Windows. I had it was a Nokia again, just going off a bit of the point, but it was a Windows operating system.
Oh, the Windows Mobile, fantastic. Windows, the tiles.
No, but it was the issue was the apps.
There wasn't enough apps.
Yeah, and then everyone who had like an Android or an iOS or whatever, I got rid of it in the end because of that one. I had the Lumia, which was like this big yellow phone, and it was a really good phone, but it's just the operating system was.
It failed again, because the as soon as people, whether it, I don't know, let's say YouTube, actually wasn't YouTube one of the things that there wasn't an app or something. That I know there was a couple of big things that there wasn't that, but say there was a YouTube app and they stopped developing for it and it stops working, then somebody who makes, I don't know, a browser for it is going to go, oh, what? If YouTube aren't developing for it, we're going to stop developing and focus on Android. And then they all the apps started to do that, and eventually everything stopped working. And it's unfortunate because it was a really good operating system. And if they'd managed to, I think, keep it going until nowadays, where everything does work in their ecosystem and cloud and all that kind of thing, I think it would have been really good. But it also worked with Windows 8, which, less said about that, the better. All the tiles for that, because they thought that the future was touchscreen computers, which it sort of is, but it wasn't. And it wasn't the best Windows 8. In fact, I found, clearing out, there's another thing I found was my Windows 8 Pro disc, which went in the bin because I looked on eBay and it was available for about £2. So I was like, nope, don't need to sell that. I did. Although I've checked Vitas, and Vitas are going for ridiculous prices. Like some of them with about sort of 10 games kind of thing, we're going for like £200. So, maybe I'll play it for a little while and then sell it.
Yeah, I guess it's the last proper portable that PlayStation have brought out. So
yeah, it's a piece of history now. I mean, technically, it was supported until 2019. So yeah, it's only sort of 5 years unsupported. Reception and sales. In contrast, an estimated 80 million, similar drop. Sorry, just read a quick thing. But yeah, it is a great piece of kit. I do love the Vita. But again, there's lots of games that I'm like, other than things like your Loco Roco on the PSP and Mercury and Tearaway, there's so many games I'm just like, do you know what? I'd rather play it on the Steam Deck or on the big screen on the Xbox or the PC.
Yeah, a lot of the PS Vita games you could get on PlayStation 4, couldn't you? I think.
Yeah, and I didn't have a PS3 and I didn't have a PS4, so I've never been able to use it as a remote player either. I don't know how those worked. I mean, I'm sure Tom would probably tell us, but whether that worked well. Anyway, right. I think
anyone this day, or do you want to?
Yeah. I've done that for a while.
I know. I was just having a look as we were speaking. On this day, 26 years ago today, so 1998, May the 12th, Gran Turismo, the first Gran Turismo.
Oh, God, that game was so good.
Make you feel old, Duncan.
But that was so good, that game, and it was. I mean, people will look at it now and go, "What? That's those graphics." But those graphics were absolutely groundbreaking when it came out. Absolutely, you just didn't see anything that realistic. It was such a good game. Loved it.
There was a lot of good racing games back then. Could you?
And then GT2 came out. GT2 came out, and it was just fantastic as well. I mean, it made what was already amazing so already even better. It definitely it sort of put a level in that everybody else had to get to. And it wasn't until sort of your Project Gotham Racing and then Forza that. I mean, there was other ones.
Gran Turismo, I know obviously it's still popular now, but for a period of time it was the only racing game, wasn't it? Which was
on consoles.
Above everything else. And like you said, Forza's now.
I mean, Forza and GT are the levels. I mean, obviously on PC, actually, and on Xbox and stuff, you've got things like Assetto Corsa and.
I know, obviously, you also had you Need for Speeds back then, didn't you, as well? And Burnouts, which were also really good. But
they were arcade. There were a few arcade fans. But do you remember getting I suppose Gran Turismo and future ones as well? You had to get the licenses, didn't you? And it was just so hard. Some of the lessons you had to pass. Weren't quite as hard as the Driver PS1 Driver game. That the intro on that you had to pass to get to the rest of the game, but they were the S license. Oh my God, that was hard. But then you could get I think it was GT or GT2. There was a Suzuki Pikes Peak version that had the really ridiculously oversized spoiler. And it was you could only get it if you had the S license. Hang on, Pikes Peak, Suzuki, the Suzuki Escudo. There's actual pictures of it from real life, and ridiculously oversized. But yeah, it was in Gran Turismo, and it was just so good. And you could do any of the dirt races. It must have been in GT2. I can't find it. No, so good. 26 years ago. Turtles, 35 years ago. The Nintendo, the NES version. Oh, Sega Saturn, 29 years ago. Yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a bit of a flop. It
was.
I played it once.
Part of the demise for Sega.
I played it once, and it was not good. They really, if they'd waited a year and stuck some more 3D power into it, it would have been okay. But
very like hexagon graphics.
Yeah,
isn't
it didn't do 3D very well, and it was
compared to the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64, which were its main competitors. It's
oh blimey, yeah, King's Quest 1, 40 years ago, 40 years old on the Apple II and PC.
That's the kind of game that Tom would still be playing today, wouldn't
it? I mean, the King's Quest games were ones where you had to. It was really weird because although you had text-based instructions, but you also controlled the character. So you had to tell the character where to go, and then you had to type in the instruction like pick up or something like that. So it was really hard, and you could die so easily. I've never completed. I've only ever played it in emulation, and it's quite a hard game. Oh, Minecraft, 15 years old. May the 10th. So 2009. I think I first played that. I think 2011. I think I played it. Maybe. I think first time. I think I downloaded a PC version of it, but it wasn't. It wasn't anything like it was today. It was his dirt, his stone, and I think there was. I think one of the big updates that I played had rail tracks in it, and that's how far apart from where it is now. Where they have votes now on what things people want to have added to it, because now, what was it? My son was really excited because armadillos are coming to it. He's like, "You can get armadillos in there now, Daddy." I'm like, okay, what do they do? They're armadillos. Oh, okay, excellent. But that's all it is. He just liked armadillos.
Minecraft today apparently has over 166 million monthly active players.
Wow.
So
that's
shows
crazy.
A game that came out 15 years ago.
Wow, I've just got to May the 13th, and there's a 48-year-old game, Breakout. Wow.
1976, yeah.
1976, yeah. That is a crazy. I mean, because that's a game that still, to this day, there are ports of, not that version, but like versions of Breakout, because it's just the paddle at the bottom. It's Arkanoid kind of thing, isn't it? Where you just have a paddle and hit something up.
Atari as well, wasn't it? Breakout, is that an Atari game?
Yeah, I think it was on a lot of. I think it was. Yeah, it was on a lot of devices. Yes, it was. Oh yeah, I'm just looking. It was published by Atari on May the 13th. Oh, it was designed by Steve Wozniak. I didn't realise that. Who obviously went on to co-found Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn to make every day.
Probably
one of the oldest games I think we've mentioned on this day.
I don't remember that one because I am not 48.
Okay, we found a game that predates you.
Predates me because I'm just that old. Yeah. I mean, I was born 2 years after that was released, but it was a very popular game still when I was a young fella. And still to this day, it is reasonably, ported game. I can't really
see it than any older ones, but I can't. So, Breakout, congratulations, 1976. Going to be 50 in 2 years' time. So.
Wow, 50 Breakout, 50 years old. Oh, right. So I think that's about all the games we can find right now. So
good one to go off on.
48-year-old game. And that's why people who are my age kind of thing and older are gamers nowadays. Back when I was a teenager, it was just for kids. But now it's for adults because the kids that were gaming in their parents' house in the 80s are now gaming in their own house. So So everybody should like and subscribe. And we do have the new web address, focusongaming.co.uk. That will take you to all our episodes, and it's got all our YouTube link, Facebook link. It has got our Twitter and Instagram link as well, but I don't really check them much. Occasionally, I go on there and go, "Well, somebody chatted to me a month ago." So if you want to contact us, go on Facebook mostly. I do apologise. Or email us on contact@focusongaming.co.uk. And that will email us as well if you wish to chat to us. Like us, subscribe us, review, all that bump. And and next week will be episode 44.
All right.
And we will see you then. Bye. you.